Boom! What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The summer is winding down. Some believe after Labor Day, the summer is over. So we kicking off the fall. What's up? I'm glad you guys could be here. Rod Justice, Hip Hop, you are first today. Spook Realm was a little slow. Since Soul Harris one Saturday at Fort DuPont in D.C. Cash Money was on the decks. Marvelous was there too. Wow. I even caught 2 tennis balls. That's dope. That is real dope, Rod Justice. Shout out to Cash Money and Marvelous. Let me make this bigger. Spook Realm says, PSA, if you ain't a jive turkey, then buy the epic true story. My brother's name is Kenny. Yes, the link is in the description below. Then assault that like button. Please hit the like button. It helps the algorithm. And big up to the Rewind crew who's going to check this out later on. Gregory Nettis, what up? Says Benny Doyle will not be here today or Friday, but he'll be in the Rewind crew. Dope. G. Doyle says, repping one half of the Doyle brothers. Bless up. Terrence Hill, what up? Got some time to hang with everyone before I head off to work tonight. Thank you so much for hanging with us. Terrence Hill, you already know what it is. Cutie Pie, what's up? Wait, Benny Doyle is here now. Oh, so the Doyle brothers are in the building. Jack Swagger, what up? Big Bat, what up? MMA Crossfire, what up? Joey Joe, what up? JT, what's up? Reggie Johnson. Yo, KP, I'm in Charlotte. Big up Charlotte. Waiting on my connecting flight to Atlanta. Back to Atlanta. Big up Charlotte. We used to do mad shows in Charlotte back in the day. That whole North Carolina area. We used to do mad shows. Terrell McMillan was good. A Steele says, what happened to the intro bump? I don't know what bump that is. MK Ultra is in the building. Sweet Goldilocks, what's up? Uh-oh. Wait, let me sip my water for this, because I got to get it right. Anyway, what's up? Orrin Hamilton, what's up? Dan Marasuti, what's up? Samuel Gervais, all the regulars in the building. Derek Mallory, Roz Mel. Tracy says, peace, chat. I don't recognize that name, but what's up? Ethan Sutton says, DJ KP, how do you describe the feeling of hearing a sample outside of a song? Do you think you can recall most of the samples from your beats? You seem to have a good memory. Yes, I think I can recall. If you play me the beat, I could probably tell you the samples. No, that's a lie. If the record came out, that means I worked on it more, and I could probably tell you where I got the sample from. But some beats that I just did randomly and I just threw them somewhere. And like some of the beats that I've played on my beat series are like 25 years old or more. A couple of them I did in the 90s. I can't remember where I got, if there's a sample, I probably don't remember where I got the sample from. For the most part. But if a record came out, I could probably tell you where I got it from. That means I did more work on it, and it's in my mind. But there's some samples that I've been going through discs lately, digitizing stuff to put up. And there's some stuff that are samples that I'm gonna put up, but I have no idea where the sample came from. Even when I played the beat cassette, when we did it live, I played the beat cassette. I had the cassette that I played KRS-One in the studio when we first did We In There for the Sex and Violence album. I played that cassette live here on one of the lives. This had to be about 3 or 4 months ago. I know most of you guys have seen it. And there were beats on there that I don't even remember where they came from. And that was 35 years ago. um, but yeah, it depends on the record. Uh, he says, how did you describe the feeling of hearing a sample outside of a song? It catches my ear. If I'm listening to something and I hear something, it stops me like, what is that? Oh, I think I want to sample that. It happens to me all the time. Joey Joe says, have I talked to DJ Doc yet? No. Um, Patrick Y, what's up? Good evening, KP, and all of those tuning in. Northeast Bronx is here. Big up to Northeast. I never hear people say Northeast Bronx. Northeast. Um, Paul Major, is it Major? Kenny, thanks for taking time for us again. Thank you for listening. Still have the remnants of that cold I had from 2 weeks ago. Can you touch on Grand Wiz dissing KRS in his track KKK? I've never heard that before. Grand Wizard Theodore? You mean? I can't imagine why Grand Wizard Theodore would diss KRS in a track. I mean, they're good friends. I don't know. I'm cool with Theodore as well. And he is a founding father of this game. I have no idea what that is. That sounds shocking to me. Beyond the Matrix, what's good? Abel Valdez, what's up? Um, Sinister2289 says, what's good, Kenny? You ever worked with Brothers of the Mind, Pal Joey's group? No, I did not even know Pal Joey had a group. I haven't spoken to Pal Joey since like 94, maybe. Um, yeah, JT, Ethan Sutton says, great question. I think he'll remember most of his samples. The main ones anyway, yes. Maybe not the little extra ones. That's exactly what it is. I've done so many beats that have not come out, hundreds, that for whatever reason I scrapped it. I made it, didn't care for it. The disc got corrupt, whatever the case. And I don't remember them anymore where I got the record. Sometimes you got to write the artist name on the disc so it can at least kind of refresh your mind a little bit. Michael from Mortar says the new graphics are looking good, KP, stepping up. Really, I don't know what new graphics there are on here. If there's new graphics, that is the program that's doing it. They have a whole bunch of new settings and things. I'm gonna play around with it. Um, let's see. Rod Justice says, I know the summer's almost over because Karis One was layered up and did not take off a thing on Saturday night. Chris really has a thing. He is always, I don't know if his temperature is colder than everybody else, but you'll see him wearing like a Scully in the summertime. He hates air conditioning. I know air conditioning affects his vocal cords. We used to do shows, they used to be like, cut the AC off because it affects his vocal cords. And so the place would be baking. But Chris, even like when we just chilling, he doesn't really have the AC on. We used to argue all the time, like, yo, Chris, we dying in here, bro. Um, yeah, I mean, I've seen him in shorts and t-shirts before, but he has this stage attire that he likes. Um, I don't know. That's pretty funny. Uh, Gregory Netter says, shout out to Mike Geronimo. Yeah, big up Mike Geronimo. That's the homie from Flushing, Queens. Um, I remember when I first heard his record, Shit's Real. I was in DC and it was like about an hour before showtime, and Willie D had came to my room and we were just chilling, listening to the mix show that was on DC, and that song came on, and we was like, yo, this is fire. And then like a few weeks later, there was a show with, I believe, it was outside in Riverside Park in New York. It was Nas, Nasty Nas at the time, I think Black Moon, Smith and Wesson, and Mike Geronimo. And his DJ was DJ Irv. Rest in peace. And I remember I was talking to Irv, which later became Irv Gotti. He was DJ Irv. And I was telling him how much I liked his song, and I heard it on the radio. And he was like, yeah, we had to play the sample over. It's a sample of Free by Denise Williams. They said we had to play it over because she would not clear the sample. So we had to play it over. He said the original version was even harder than the one that came out because we used the original sample. And I was like, yo, I need to get that. And he said he had some in the trunk of his car. And we were supposed to go to the trunk of his car and get an original copy of Mike Geronimo. But for some reason, we didn't do it. So the next few times I seen DJ Irv, I was like, yo, I got to get that Mike Geronimo. And he's like, yeah, yeah. And then he blew up and became a mogul. Um, so he wasn't DJ Irv anymore. He was Irv Gotti. I didn't really see him too much after that. But just a quick thought about Mike Geronimo. Dope MC from the mid 90s. Um, had a couple jams. Master IC was dope in 95. Probably should have been bigger. I don't know. Danielle LaDon Freeman, messed up your name again. Yo, KP, the new Kwame album is truly fire. Word, I gotta check that out. I mean, Kwame's always been a dope producer and MC. Gotta check that out. Yeah, somebody had mentioned this a few weeks ago, and I forgot to check this out. KP, have you heard the new Master Killer album? No, I have not. He gives you a shout out in the first song, along with a lot of other hip hop folk. That is dope. Master Killer shot me out. Like I said before, I used to live around the corner from Master Killer a few years ago. So I used to see him out and about, walking around. I used to just see Master Killer in the street. Um, cool brother. Cool, super cool brother. Big up to Master Killer, man. Thank you so much for the shout out. Spook Realm says, LOL, Kenny got to do a me before he says, anyway. Yes, that's my biggest hit, man. I got to make sure I present it properly. Oh, I got the shortest show in hip hop. Um, Jason Wall says the audition scene in Beat Street is the best 80 seconds in hip hop history. I gotta watch that again. I haven't seen Beat Street since it came out. Um, JT says KP hit the extra smooth anyway. Yes, I'm trying to get my trying to get my vocals up. I might need auto tune. What if I come on here with auto tune? It's sick, and that would be hilarious. That would be the funniest. I might try that. Brunswick says, I want to hear your Battle Beats Volume 1. Hard to find. Really? Maybe I have a couple still left. They were just beats that I put up. It was a Battle Beats. I put up about 10 beats that I had at the time, straight out the SP 1200 into saved it on DAT, and we pressed it up. This was in like 97. Um, and I'm gonna, you know what? Brunswick, I'm gonna do that. One of these sessions coming up, I'm gonna play that album just so y'all can hear what was on it. I'm gonna do that for those that care. Um, yes, John Walker, fresh for 113, you suckers. Well, this is show 113 of the Tuesday Lives, and there's about 111 of them are in a row. Actually, all 113 of them are really in a row. It's just that the first couple were like 2 weeks apart. They were random. I just jumped on, and then after a couple of times, people was like, "Yo, we should do this every week." So we decided to do it every week. So really, they're all really in a row. Just 111 of them are probably each week. Um, Views Review says, "What up, DJ KP? What's your favorite party starter of all time? The jam that is good to play sometimes 3 times a night. During my time as a DJ, my favorite was Still Not a Player, Big Pun and Joe. I almost was on that Big Pun album, that first one. That's almost an epic fail. I was almost on that Big Pun first album that sold 2 million copies. Would have changed my life. Um, Favorite party starter. That depends on the crowd. If you're talking about that era, Still Not a Player, you're talking like 96, 97. That was 97. That's tough. That's a tough one. That you could play now. You know what I would play? You know what always works in any crowd, anywhere, even now? Crooklyn Clan and Fat Man Scoop. What's the name of it? The one where they sampled Faith. I never knew there was a love like this before. That one. From that era, I could throw that on right now. Bass drop, and people will still have their hands in the air right now. From that era, that was a party. Remember when Crooklyn Clan used to make all the party records? Shout out to Crooklyn Clan. I don't think I ever met them. And rest in peace to Fat Man Scoop. That was the homie, man. Mike Rocks 25. This is off subject, but he says, "Yo, I just found out that COINTELPRO, the FBI, pulled the movie The Spook Who Sat by the Door because they deemed it a threat." I've never seen that movie. I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. They deemed it a threat. I have to look that up. Uh, Yo, I did see this G Duro. Yo, peep the clip of Rampage Jackson's son smashing that wrestler in the face. He's lucky he didn't kill him. He's lucky, but he's gonna go to jail for that for sure and get sued. Um, I saw that clip. Apparently, he felt disrespected by somebody or something, and he has something to prove. And he was supposed to go out there, and it was supposed to be an exhibition, so he wasn't even supposed to be throwing real punches or something. So he caught the guy off guard by hitting him for real or throwing him on the ground. And he must have beat the guy. He must have hit him, what, 15 times? And the guy was already unconscious, and he just kept beating him until people had to drag him off of the guy. Like he was really trying to end him. Um, and he's lucky. The guy's in the hospital. He's lucky. He is lucky he did not end him. And he talked about it, watch what I do, before he went and did it. That's some premeditation in there. He's in big trouble, man. I saw that. That was terrible. It was very difficult to watch. Tampa Bay Boston Terriers, where you been? Peace. Red, what's up? Um, let's see. Um, Tampa Bay said, "Yo, KP, did you see Kwame on Sway?" No, I did not. MK Ultra says, "Have you ever sampled Bob James? Never realized until recently how much he's been sampled." Yes. He's one of the most sampled artists ever outside of James Brown. Um, I have sampled Bob James. This has never come out. The sample clearances are so crazy, man. Um, and I've spent a lot of money in sample clearances over the years. Um, I have played around with Bob James samples. When I did my SP1200, when I was playing the SP1200 beats live on the channel a few months back, I played a couple of Bob James sampled beats that I made. Matter of fact, I might put one up that I played. I haven't put it up. Might just put up because I haven't put up stuff with too many samples in them yet. But I will. And thanks to those who's been checking out my beat series. The last one I put up was 4 a.m. Smooth, which is like the brother of 3 a.m. Smooth, which I put up the week before. So thank you for those who checking that out. My next beat's gonna be real dusty though. I gotta go back to the grime. Chris Morale says, what are your guidelines when it comes to making beats? For example, is it like if you don't have anything after 15 minutes, you scrap it? Or if you can't get something to sync, you let it go? No, I have no guidelines because sometimes I make stuff and that's it, and I'm stuck. Or sometimes I just have drums and nothing else. And I'll just leave it. And I'll write on it like something I need to finish or unfinished something. And I'll come back to it. Or maybe I'll find something and go, yo, this would be really dope with that thing I did 4 months ago that I never finished. Then I'll try to throw it on there. Everything has a purpose. I've worked on beats for hours and days and then didn't like it and scrapped it. I've worked on beats for 15 minutes and it ended up coming out. Um, so I don't really have a guideline. Uh, I just make things, and when I feel like I can't go any further, I just save it and leave it and come back to it later. That's a great question, though. Patrick Wise says KRS might be anemic. He needs some iron pills. Maybe. Um, he doesn't eat meat, so maybe. Um, but he's been like this since the early '90s at least. I know the air conditioner affects his voice, but he still likes it hot all the time. Joey Joe says everyone has sampled a Bob James record. Wonder if did BDP ever sample a Bob James record that came out? I don't think BDP has made a Bob James record that came out. Crusher Blackwell says, do you have a story on the making of Duck Down video? I've talked about that quite a few times on this channel. Um, it was a real quick, it was a 2-day shoot. We shot Duck Down and 13 and Good the same weekend. Same directors, uh, the Hughes brothers. And what I remember about Duck Down, I remember that I've mentioned this before, that there was a scene where we had to beat up a sucker MC, and one of the Hughes brothers volunteered to be that sucker MC, and we were supposed to rough him up a little bit, but of course, Will, rest in peace, took it a little too far and started roughing him up for real. Knocked him on the ground, was dragging him by his leg. You watch that video. I think Will is dragging him. And after they said cut, yo, the Hughes brother was mad as hell at Will. Like, yo, I'm laughing at it, thinking about it right now. Will took it way too far. Um, I believe I bust off a 9 in that video. Um, There was a lot of tagging graffiti. It was up in the Bronx, if I recall. I was not in the studio for the Duck Down recording, but that whole weekend was just a wild weekend. A lot of hours. It takes a lot of hours to shoot a 5 minute video. Takes like 20 hours, man, to shoot a 5 minute. For you to see a 5 minute video is like 20 hours of work. I hate video shooting, man. I'm so glad I wasn't like the main artist because to have to be performing it over and over and over. Okay, change the scene. Do that 10 times. Change your clothes. Do that 10 times. All right, we're driving to another location. Makeup, this, that. Okay, 10 more times, 15 times. Like that is draining, man. But there's more to that story, but I'm going to move on. But that's a great question. MMA says criminal lawyer, debonair, and popular YouTuber Bruce Rivers. Yeah, I watched Bruce Rivers. Rest in peace to his son. Did an episode on Roger Jackson, tells you how big the story has become. Yeah, man. It's a bad, bad. I'm no lawyer, but that looks terrible, and it's right there on camera. It's like there's nothing you can say. He talked about it on his Instagram or whatever before. Then he just did it. There's no way he's in trouble, man. One moment in time can ruin your whole life. I mean, we've all been there. I know I've had times when I look back and I'm thinking to myself, thank goodness nothing bad happened here because I could have played myself making a poor decision. Um, anyway, says hit that like button. Please hit the like button when you guys get a chance. Uh, uh, this is very interesting, Rod Justice. Says, I read a lawyer's book that said if you don't tell a publisher you sampled, they might not notice since they own so many songs, they can't track them all. That is, I don't believe that because some guys, and I know this for a fact, have young boys out here just listening to stuff, trying to find samples. And they got websites like Sample This, I think it's called, where they list every sample. They know I don't know how these guys do it, but they know every sample to every song. And they even said I sampled a beat that I did not sample. And I had to reach out to them and correct them. Like, no, I did not sample this record. But I think it's called Sample This. It's a website. Any sample that you're looking for a record, they have it. And they tell you how much it was used, when it was used. It's crazy. Um, and so these people have people hunting. And there's not really a statute of limitations because, well, there is for some things. But like I mentioned on this channel, the Boogie Down Productions sampled, I forgot the guy's name. The song is called Different Strokes for a Criminal Minded song in 1987. And the guy came after a bunch of people in like '08. I think 50 Cent, this one, that one. He came out of a bunch. Was it Syl Johnson is his name? Syl Johnson? He came after a bunch of people in like '08. So you're talking 20 years later. And he came after KRS too, and KRS had to pay a little chunk to this guy for sampling Criminal Minded. And it wasn't even sampling laws in '87. This guy still came back and got money. Um, there's been a bunch of groups in hip hop history who thought a sample wouldn't be heard, and they got caught out there and lost tens of thousands in all of their publishing. Uh, I can't lie. I've tried to bury samples in things. I've chopped up stuff and tried to move things around to avoid that. But to say I'm just not going to say anything and hope for the best, you can get over, but God forbid you catch a big hit record and then everybody gets to hear it, and then the publisher finds out and you didn't clear it and it made a bunch of money and you get nothing because had you cleared it in the beginning, it probably would have cost you a couple G's maybe. But now that you didn't clear it and it sold 1 million copies, now it's going to cost you $2 million. I would not. Uh, I'm not a lawyer, so this guy probably has a point. But for me, I wouldn't. I wouldn't use that as like a model for sample clearances, man. You will get caught. I know if anybody samples me, I'm on it. Matter of fact, I've heard my drums in quite a few records uh, over the in the '90s, over the years. I have not stepped to anybody about it, but I could have. A couple people have asked me, "Can I use the drums that you did on this record for my record?" Friends of mine, and I said, "Sure, go ahead. I don't have a problem with it." They asked me face to face. I didn't. There was no lawyers or nothing. I just said, "Go ahead," and they did. But then I've heard a couple other records where people use my drums and they didn't say anything. I could have stepped up, but I haven't. But I noticed it, and it's just my drum sounds. So imagine if it was music like that, I'd have to step up. Um, Patrick Wise says, "What borough has the best MCs?" Oh man, that's a real. I think Queens has the most successful MCs of all the boroughs. But best, like I said, I don't believe in the word best. Music is too subjective. DJ Q Storm, what up? Hold on a second, y'all. It's big, small. Um, Gurgi says Kwame hasn't aged at all. He still looks the same as from the '90s. That's dope. Good living, Kwame, the boy genius. Oh, Tampa Bay says Heather B told Kwame a story about you two seeing him on the path. I did see Kwame on the path train with Heather. Path train is a train that goes from New Jersey to New York and back. I did. That is true. Did we speak to him? I don't know Kwame. I don't think I've ever had a conversation with him. Oh wow, that's crazy, Heather. We did see Kwame on the train. I've seen quite a few people on that path train. I've seen Biz back in the Latin Quarter days. I saw one of the members of the Alcoholics. I can't remember his name now. One of the members of the Alcoholics was on the path train. I've seen Crazy Legs, the legendary breaker, on the path train. Um, I'm pretty sure there's more. Uh, I've seen Ill and Al Scratch. Al Scratch. I saw Al Scratch on the PATH train. I saw Cannabis on the PATH train. The more I think about it, I saw one of the artifacts um, on a PATH train. Yeah, that PATH train from Jersey to New York. I'm trying to think. Me and KRS rode the PATH train way back in '87. When I went to school in Jersey City. Shout out to St. Peter's University. Um, he rode with me on the PATH train to back to school, back to my dorms. This when Criminal Minded that first came out. It's in the book. Get the book. The link is in the description below. Um, Orrin Hamilton says, "Turn your AC off, KP. My AC is off. I don't know what sound that you're hearing, but it is not my AC." Um, this is random. It says, "What's crazy part two is Bernie Sanders and Roy DeMeo went to high school together." Wow. Roy DeMeo, for those that don't know, is the infamous mobster, New York City mobster. They said he was a psycho. he was practically a serial ender. And he caught his demise. And he went to school with Bernie Sanders. That's crazy. G. Doyle says, hit us with the Shaba impression. It has to come up in a story. Is that my other hit? Is that another hit from my album? This is a great question. I could talk about this all day. Christopher Caldwell says, what was the jolt of energy that made you write the book? How long did it take you to write the book? Oh, I can go into the origin of writing this book. It was years in the making. I'll do a quick synopsis, real quick. They have been doing the KRS-One story. It has been serious discussions about it since 1991. You're talking almost 35 years. I remember there was an HBO conversation. I remember Jonathan Demme, Oscar-winning director of Silence of the Lambs, had agreed to direct the movie. He had put his name in the hat. Um, Other people have talked about it. It's been an ongoing discussion. And they always say, well, we're going to start with, KRS met Scott LaRock in the shelter, and then they did Criminal Minded, and then we're going to move on. And I always used to say, well, wait a minute. Do you know how much happened before KRS met Scott LaRock? It is a ridiculous backstory to that. That's unbelievable, practically a miracle in the making. And people would go. I remember one guy who was talking about writing a movie was like, yeah, 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 Kenny, yeah, yeah. Like he practically shut me up. He's like, yeah, 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 yeah. Don't worry, you'll have a part in the movie. Just yeah, 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 like that. He shut me down. So I was just like, yeah, whatever. They're talking to KRS. They're not talking to me. So I'm just going to be quiet, even though I was there for the whole thing. So there's not that many people that can really tell the story like me because I was right there. But I didn't say anything. And then one day I was I was DJing a club called the Five Spot in Brooklyn. And one of the owners, her name was Kim. And I was talking to her about just pieces of my life story, things from the past. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and we were just sitting there talking. And I was telling her some stuff, and she was like, yo, you should write a book. That's crazy. You should write a book. And I was like, I never wrote a book before. She was like, no, you should write a book. And that was the joke. When she said that, I was like, the story is kind of wild. And then I went to Chris and I was like, yo, I want to tell a story before Criminal Minded, what happened. I'm gonna go through Criminal Minded and all that, but people don't even know how crazy our life was before that. And he was like, well, you should do it, Kenny. That's like, you should do it, Kenny. He says, as a matter of fact, he said, at this time, I have no plans to tell that part of the story. So if you want to tell it, you should go ahead. I was like, okay, watch this. And that was the jolt that started me writing the whole book. And it's been very well received. Thank you for those out there who do have the book. And how long did it take me to write it? It took me about a year to write it, and then about a year to edit it down to what it is now. Because there was a lot more of the story, and I edited it down, tightened it up. But thank you so much. I could talk about this all day because there's a lot more to what I'm saying, but this is just the gist of it. Thank you, Chris Caldwell. And of course, I'm going to be behind now, but I love that question. Um, Terrence Hill said Kenny would have been a great background singer back in the day. Yeah, but, I can't sing, but that would have been dope. Jack Swagger says Kenny is an honorary member of the Spinners. Don't sleep. Oh man, games people play. Rubber Band Man, I was just listening to that like a week ago. Rubber Band Man and Games People Play are two of my favorite records. Games People Play. Great record. Great record. Yeah, I'm in the spinners. Yeah, let's just go there. Let's go there with it. Um, let's see. KP starter is Gerardo Rico Suave. I did mention on this channel that that is my song, what you call it, like a guilty pleasure. I used to like that song, Rico Suave. I used to like the way he was over the top. He had his shirt off. Rico Suave. He was so over the top that it was funny to me. I know he's a serious MC, no disrespect to him, but I just liked how I like people that they're so extra, and you could tell that they know they're being extra sometimes, and it makes it funny. Like to me, Ghostface is over the top sometimes, and you could tell like he know he's going crazy right now with like a robe on and wallabies or something. Like he know it's funny. Um, Stuff like that. I saw a whole little like clip about this. Joey Joe says, I think KRS this in Queens, they all knew they had to step their rhyme game up. Yeah, that bridge is over caused a lot of pain in Queens. And they was like, this is never gonna happen to us again. Uh, Nev Ed says that Be Faithful is still a joint. Who's up in the night? Who? Yes. That's the name of the song, Be Faithful. I could still get a response from that song right now. Right now. JT says KP really auditioning his singing voice for the new album. Yes. Unless I just go auto tune. My first single is Anyway. Yeah, Terrence Hill. This is another one. Rob Bass, It Takes Two will never go out in 90s club nights. Never. Even though it's 89. Yeah, Chris Paul says Rob Bass is a dope party starter. Yeah. 900 number is a dope party starter. But when he mentioned 96, 97, I was trying to think of something from that era. Jack Swagger says, where was the ref? Yeah, like it took them a little, if I was that guy, the wrestler, I think I might sue the company too, because it took a little too long for them to break that up. Because he wasn't responding for a minute. Yeah, you're right. Where was the ref? Spook Realm says that dude is still in the hospital. That's a terrible story. Vex Perel says, imagine striking an unconscious man. Yeah, it's bad, but sometimes you just lose it. He lost it. He wasn't even there. He was not even a human. It wasn't a human on human. He turned into an animal. He lost his mind. Sometimes that happened when you see red. He was not even himself. He probably don't even remember half of it. Um, and if you ever look on like a lot of it be on Twitter, comes across my feed. Street fights, you see a lot of that. Dudes knocking people out and then just continuing to just brutalize. It's terrible, man. It's terrible. Patrick Wise says Joey Joe KRS definitely put the battery in Queens back. They came strong after that, for sure. Philly She says he needs to be locked away for being goofy and dangerous. I mean, if it was his first offense or whatever, he's probably gonna have a good lawyer. He might plead to something. But it's gonna be real hard because he really assaulted. That was almost attempted ending, man. Premeditated. The lawsuit is gonna be crazy. Um, MMA says broken facial bones, concussion, missing teeth. He's lucky that's all it is. Yeah, Divine Existence. The Crooklyn Clan joint was named Be Faithful. Yeah, when Scoop says bass drop. Fat Man Scoop was the voice of a generation, man. Patrick Wise says Bob James, James Brown, and the Meters are the head of the sample class. Yeah, James Brown is by far the head. BDP has sampled James Brown and the Meters. Um, oh, I didn't know this, JT. He says he'll get a lawyer and sue Raja and Rampage. Rampage will be liable as he encouraged or egged his son to get his get back. Oh, he was instigating this? Oh, yeah. Being an instigator to a crime puts you right in the mix. Jamil Lab says KRS and Public Enemy should collaborate and do an album together. That would be dope. Um, John Walker says Bob James had DJ Jazzy Jeff on Tiny Desk. Dope. I saw a great interview with Bob James, maybe the best I ever seen. I think Ninth Wonder did it. Shout out to Ninth Wonder. He did an interview with Bob James that was amazing. One of the best interviews I've ever seen. It was very informative. Uh, Ninth Wonder did his homework. Bob James is very forthcoming. Uh, it was dope. If you ever get a chance, look up the Ninth Wonder interview of Bob James. It's packed full of information. Rod Justice says, I have checked out all of the KP beats. Thank you so much. Um, let's see. Um, JT says, KP, I wouldn't advise you to put up any beats with uncleared Bob James samples. His clearance teams do not play. You'll almost certainly get a copyright strike. You know what? Thank you, JT. I know people are on it. And I would put it up not for sale or anything, just for people to hear. But you know what? You're right. I could get a copyright strike for that. And who needs that? I've already got a couple um, for some of my epic fails. So yeah, you know what, JT, you're right. I'm gonna leave that alone. I mean, when I played it live on the channel off the SB1200, I didn't get flagged, but um, I don't even want that smoke. Views reviews, what up? Says all the beats you put up are dope, KP, and I'm picky as hell. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I mean, I'm just throwing them up there. It's an extension of that whole SP1200 session. I just like, let me just throw the beats up. I got all kind of stuff, old, new, R&B, rock. I'm just gonna get to it as the days go on. Uh, Rob Justice says, I should have held up a sign at the show. KRS-One, when are you coming on the Kenny Parker show? That would have been funny. Um, whenever he gets his chance to sit down. David also says, Tracy Lee had a party anthem back in the days. Great party story. Yeah, it's party time. Oh, it's party time. Um, he sampled Pieces of a Dream. Shout out to Tracy Lee. I used to see him in the tunnel all the time. That record used to bang in the tunnel. And he's from Philly, I believe. I used to see him in the tunnel. Super cool brother. Super cool brother, Tracy Lee. Um, let's see. Mike Rocks says, who checked out the Joe and Jada podcast? I've seen snippets. It's blown up real fast. They got a lot of nice backing behind it. In fact, Joe's been doing this since the pandemic. Fat Joe overpowers their guests with him talking too much. He got stories for years. Yeah. I mean, I try when I have guests on the channel not to overpower them. Sometimes you tell a story to set up a question, but then sometimes the interviewers just start making it about themselves, which I find annoying, and I try as much as I can not to do that when I have a guest on. By the way, I've had two guests turn me down in the past week and a half. I've had two guests who said they would come on, change their mind for some reason. But we keeping on, keeping on. JT says Hughes' brother was mad as hell. I can imagine the more upset, the funnier it got. Yes, when Will was dragging him. Yeah, I don't even know if they showed all of what happened, but it got out of control. Yo, we was laughing so hard. I was crying. And I didn't even notice this was the first day of shooting. Like after the week was over, the weekend was over, that we got to, have know the Hughes brothers a little more. And I got to meet them again later on when they did some work with Heather B. She was in the movie Dead Presidents, and I went down to the set to hang out, and we was chilling in the trailer with the Hughes brothers, super hip hop fans. But when Will was beating him up, this was like a few hours into the shoot, and we didn't even know this dude. Yo, Will is so off the hook, and rest in peace to my dude. I guess Will wanted to make it believable. Oh my goodness. I've fallen behind too. MMA says Bruce Rivers, big up Bruce Rivers, shout out indeed. Yes, Cutie Pie says big up Bruce Rivers and Bruce Rivers' granny who's trapped in the basement. I thought I was the only one that watched Bruce Rivers. Patrick Wise says Fat Joe shouldn't even have guests. He should just be his own guest and talk and talk. Big up my brother Fat Joe, man. That's the homie right there. Um, his show is doing really well. Big up to Fat Joe. He does have a lot of stories. And we all do. I have a lot of stories. I've told some. Um, we've talked about this Crusher Blackwell last week, I believe. So what's your take on the original Spinderella's rant on Salt and Pepper's UMG lawsuit and her long-stemming beef with Salt, accusing her of being blocked from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? We talked about this in depth last week. I don't want to rehash it, but not even last week. This was the last episode. This was Tuesday. Um, if you didn't get a chance to watch the rewind last Friday. Today's Tuesday. Last Friday we talked about this. If you get a chance, check it out. Uh, we went into detail. Um, I like this PSA right here. MK Ultra says, if you're in this chat, you know we're all very lucky to still be here on this planet. Absolutely. Blessings and many more years, y'all. I love that statement. Every day that you wake up is a miracle. David Alston said, did KRS-One really DJ'd on the BDP Live album for the reggae melody part? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And there's an epic fail mixed in there too. Yes, he did. KRS-One DJ'd. I've said this many times on this channel. He's done most of the scratches on all of the BDP records that you heard. Outside of Criminal Minded, which was Scott LaRock, and what DJ Premier has done, mostly all of the other scratches have been Chris. He taught me how to DJ. Yeah, JT, that's what it's called. Who Sampled is the website. Yeah, such a cheat code because old heads used to struggle digging. Now, a quick search, yeah, now a quick search, you can find what anybody did. Uh, Most people don't know this website though, but it is I don't know how they found a couple of things that I used that I just used a horn, bam, and they found the original record. I don't know how they did it, but they are really, really, really good at finding samples, at identifying samples. So if you're an artist, all you have to do, if you're an old artist, all you gotta do is put your name in who sampled and click search, and lawsuits galore. Chris Caldwell says Joe and Jada are ironically a good pair. Yeah, I believe Jada kind of reels him back in, which is good. Patrick Wise says, I love sample this. So there's a sample this as well. But who sampled is the one I was talking about, but there's a sample this too, I think. I found out the sample from Grand Poobah's You Know How It Goes. Great sample. Yeah, they got everything out there now. Um, let's see. Um, David Alston says, Kenny, do the label pay for the DJ or the artist, or do you have to sign a contract as well? Well, it depends. The label, it's whoever signed as the group. Uh, like say Pete Rock and CL Smooth. The label, they are both signed to, well, were signed to Elektra. Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince were both signed to Jive. But then some other people, other groups have a DJ that they'll shout out, but they're not necessarily signed. Me, for example, I was the DJ for BDP for 20 years, but I was never signed to anybody. Um, so it really depends. But for the most part, the artist pays the DJ. Especially in your live show, the record company has nothing to do with that. You can have a DJ, not have a DJ. They don't care what you do for the most part. That's on you. So if you want to have a DJ, you pay for them. If you don't want to have a DJ, you don't pay for them. Unless they're part of the group on the contract. Hold on, y'all. CMC's technique in class, as usual, each week. You are a star. Thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. It is much, much, much appreciated. KP, Dana Dane did an interview last week with Herbie Lovebug. Wow. Dana was kind of upset that he didn't get to do his album with Clark Kent because Herbie stopped it. Oh, I didn't know that. Herbie was controlling everything back then. Um, I gotta watch that interview. Shout out to my man Dana Dane. We talk about him on this channel. Even KRS said Dana Dane is down with us and still number one. Dana Dane is that dude. That's my brother. Fort Greene, I believe Fort Greene Projects. I didn't know that story. I gotta watch that interview. Yeah, but Herbie was controlling everything back then for that crew. Let me scroll down a little bit because I'm behind. I don't know how I fall behind so fast. Maybe because I answer one question and then the comments just keep coming. MK Ultra says, keep it up, keep it pure, KP, no auto tune. I despise auto tune, by the way, but maybe I'll keep my pure singing voice for my one hit. I got other hits though, because my Shaba impersonation, I don't know if it's a hit, but it's gonna be on my album. Oh. Charles 13X says, I think it was staged. Those underground wrestling events are way worse. Nah, I think this is real. I think they're mostly staged, but I think this one is real. MMA says it was a Bush League promotion. That's why there was no security to quickly take Roger off him. Yeah, something had to happen. David also says, Kenny, have you ever met DJ Cool? Absolutely. That's my brother too. I keep saying these people are my brothers, but that's the man, DJ Cool. Let Me Clear My Throat was a great party starter record. Yes, it was. Is. Still is. Um, we did a few shows with DJ Cool over the years. I remember one year he really put the pressure. We did a show, it was DJ Cool. It might have been in Philly. It was outside. It was like 5,000 people. It was DJ Cool, KRS-One, LL Cool J. And we went in the middle. And DJ Cool cracked it open. And this is when Let Me Clear My Throat was crispy. He did that. I think he had some water dance. Get in the water. Something like that. He had like 4 records that was like big party records. And he tore this place down. We had to go on after him, and he really put the heat on us. We've had to go on after some real monster records in my time. Some real monster records. One of them being Let Me Clear My Throat. We performed after him in the peak of that record. And he performs it very well, and he sounds exactly like the record. It was dope. It was dope. And what do you had the other one? Is New York in the house right now? Is DC in the house right now? Yo, those records was killing it. Shout out to DJ Cool. He'd be a dope person to get on the channel. Uh, Vex says no remorse detected. None. Maybe now that he's gonna find out how much trouble he's in. Uh, Hope Style says, wait, what kind of incident are people discussing? Is this a boxing match, MMA, or something else? I thought it was either MMA or wrestling. I'm not sure because I wasn't familiar with these people till I saw the highlights. It wasn't a boxing match. It was like some kind, maybe it was MMA, but it wasn't supposed to be serious, I think. Thought it was just supposed to be like an exhibition, and this dude just jumped in, slammed this guy, and just started beating him. He probably hit him with like 15 unanswered punches while the guy was unconscious. He was trying to, they had to drag him off of him. Like it was personal. Jack Swagger, I've gone into great detail about this. Says, KP, do you think the lack of support for sex and violence is partly due to the PM Dawn incident? They both happened in 93. Yes, but there's a whole bunch to the story. I have 2 videos on this channel you need to watch, Jack Swagger. One is KRS-One versus PM Dawn. I think that's probably like my second or third video. Watch that where I break down the whole PM Dawn incident from the beginning, during, and after. Watch that, and then watch my Sex and Violence album breakdown. I did that about 2 years ago. And you'll get a real good understanding of what happened. Says KP, what about Kenny Dope? Kenny Dope was really dope. First of all, shout out Masters at Work, his work with Louis Vega. I met Kenny Dope maybe once or twice. I think I met him in Beat Street Records before. But he was doing hip hop too. He had a lot of hip hop break records, and he was doing Masters at Work. He was killing it. I think he was on the SP 1200 back in the day too. Um, Shout out to Kenny Dope. I haven't seen him in years. Jason Wall says he had a chip on his shoulder because he's been told all his life he'll never be as tough as his dad, and he let all his anger put on that wrestler. That's what happened. I don't know for sure what happened. But it whatever happened, it is bad. Um, MMA says hype style. It was a pro wrestling event run by a Bush League promotion that let an unexperienced MMA fighter get his revenge on a perceived slight before the show. Oh, so there was like, yeah, something like he felt he was disrespected or something. Um, I don't know all of the story. Chris Caldwell says, do you check out Byron Scott podcast? Good guess. Yeah, from time to time I check it out. Um, um, Spook Realm says, DJKP, your little brother was mad prophetic in his early records, especially in the intro for the Sex and Violence album. Your little brother, you mean, well, KRS is my older brother, so I'm the little brother, really, but I gotta listen to the Sex and Violence intro again. Was it talking about vinyl? I gotta go back and listen to that. Um, Terrence Hill says, speaking of old school, I was at this club in Boca Raton on Friday watching Giggles perform her freestyle hits like Love Letter. Kenny, I can have you play a 90s set at this spot one day. That would be real dope, Terrence Hill. That would be real dope. That would be real dope. Dartmouth says, Ninth Wonder, you mean Talib's interview with Bob James? Nah, I thought it was Ninth Wonder. If I recall, it was Ninth Wonder. I know I didn't know Talib has an interview with Bob James, but this one I saw, I thought it was Ninth Wonder. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was Ninth Wonder. Spook Ram says, I know he's older than you, but he's shorter. Yes, he is. Chris was taller than me all the way up until we was like 14, 15, and then I passed him. Yeah. Oh, JT says Ninth Wonder and Talib both did great interviews with Bob James. Kweli also joined him on stage for an impromptu set. I didn't see the Kweli one. I just saw the Ninth Wonder one, which I loved. Um, let's see. Michael from Mortis says, yes, copyright strike doesn't care whether or not you're monetized. That is true. Uh, Rain Spotlight Podcast says, can I get you on the podcast for an interview? Yeah, why not? Patrick Wise says, Tracy Lee stole that intro from Curtis Blow. It's party time. Oh, it's a party, having a party. Really? I didn't know that. Everywhere that my crew goes, everything my goes, we're gonna get down. I didn't know that. BDP said, clap your hands, everybody, if you got what it takes. So, hey, um, were you in the studio when D Nice recorded the TR Iterators Coming? No. With KRS, Scott LaRock, and Red Alert featuring? No. That promo was ridiculous. No, that was before my time in BDP. No. Um, oh, this is interesting. Bob James said that Daytona 500 was his favorite Nautilus sample. Um, that's crazy. Gregory Nellis says Fat Joe telling fake stories, people are saying. Yeah, he's getting a lot of heat for people are saying that his stories don't add up. I'm not sure. Um, I'm not sure if they're true or not. Uh, I'm gonna leave that one alone. I don't know. Philly Sheet says R.I.P. Ill Willie D. Yes. Yes. I try to keep his name alive on this channel a lot because he was the backbone of BDP. MMA says Bruce Rivers has millions of subscribers. Yeah, I thought I was the only one. Yeah, you're right. He is huge, but sometimes you be in your own world. Charles 13X says R.I.P. Howie T. Yeah, we talked about him a couple weeks ago in detail. Um, let's see. Shaolin One De Palm says your pacing can be a bit slow for my taste. Oh, the very odd time, but yours is what I prefer to listen to out of almost all the hip hop shows. Well, thank you so much, Shaolin. I really appreciate it. Um, my pacing is my personality. Uh, so this is what it is. I mean, I really appreciate your comment and thank you for listening and preferring my show out of almost all of the shows. Uh, yeah, but you know, in the pacing on here, I am a lot of times when I'm speaking, I'm remembering things that's coming to me. I'm trying to talk to people as it's coming to my head. So it is what it is. Thank you. Ring Spotlight says need a BDP biopic. Yes, man. Yes. Anthony Gus says, speaking of Fat Joe, you should try and get Cuban Link on your show. Yeah, I've been seeing some of his interviews. There's a lot of bitterness there. I don't even know if I want to get in the middle of that, but it's a lot of bitterness. Dave Austin says, Kenny, what did you use for the blood running down your head in the Love's Gonna Get You video? And was Rob DJ Doc? This is funny. I think I've mentioned this story before in here. The Love's Gonna Get You video. First, Rob was not DJ Doc. Rob was Pal Joey, the producer of Love's Gonna Get You, Duck Down, 13 and Good, and Soho Hot Music, do 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 music. That is Pal Joey. That is Rob in the video. I don't know what they used for the blood to go down my head, but what I do remember is that that video was shot at a studio right outside of right like across the street from Queensbridge Projects. We was in Queensbridge when we shot that video. And I remember I still had the blood on my head and I tried a trick. I went outside with the blood right after we shot that scene. I went outside with the blood still on my head and I went into a store and I said, excuse me, can I have change for $1? They said, no, no, go, like that. I was like, damn. I went into a laundromat and I said, excuse me, help me. Can you give me change for $1? And he said, we don't have change for $1. Please leave. Get out of here. Get out of here. And I'm like, you're a laundromat? You don't have change for $1? He was like, no, 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 just go. Like he saw me with the blood on my head and he was like, get out my store. And I'm like, I could have really been hurt. And I'm just asking, do you have change for $1? And they were, two stores told me to get out right by Queensbridge Projects. I remember that because I just did a little social experiment. Yeah, that just came to my head. Um, I don't remember this. Spook said, I felt bad for D Nice on the live album because he really wanted the sword, but KRS didn't give it to him. I don't remember what that part is. Mrs. Hunley, Miss Hunley, what's up? I don't recognize that name. Says Kenny, who do you think would win a versus between Michael Jackson versus R. Kelly? Michael Jackson versus anybody. It would have to be more like the Jackson 5 versus R. Kelly. Uh, the Jackson 5 and Young Mike, Teenage Mike versus R. Kelly. Jackson 5 sold 80 million records. And I've seen, I was thinking about this the other day. There's been a lot of slander on some of our legendary artists and heroes lately by newer people. And I don't understand where this is coming from. I know there's a real generation divide right now, but I've seen a lot of slander on Michael Jackson's name. People comparing artists of today with Michael Jackson. They're not even in the same universe with Michael Jackson. I've seen dirt being thrown on Michael Jordan's name compared to artists of today. You're not even in the same world as Michael Jordan. Um, and of course, we've seen some Nas disrespect. I don't know where this is coming from, but I see a trend going on where people are disrespecting icons. And I don't use the word icon that much. These are icons in their fields, and people are trying to say, no, they weren't really that good compared to now. And I don't even understand. Not saying you, Miss Hundley, because I love R. Kelly. I think R. Kelly in a verses with just about anybody in the 90s on would be tough. But Michael Jackson is just another whole. He's another whole. Michael Jackson's like 2 or 3 levels past whatever the biggest artist is right now. And his catalog is so ridiculous. Um, Great Beard says 3 underappreciated songs by your brother. My 3: Higher Level, love that song. A Friend, and Get Yourself Up. A Friend had a video, so I'm gonna take that out. It was a great record. I'm gonna take that out only because it had a video, so I guess somebody thought it was, a little more appreciated. But Higher Level was an album cut, and Get Yourself Up, those are album cuts. I think my top underappreciated songs by my brother is Beef from the Edutainment album. Underappreciated. You Must Learn, even though there was a video for that, but I think that song, especially the video version, one of the great conscious records ever made. When people be talking about conscious records and they throw this record or that record out, that's one of, and it was a huge hit too. Um, that'd be my second. Maybe the MC would be my third. Uh, uh, Gurky says Cuban come on Kenny show. He would diss Fat Joe a lot. Yeah, he's just in Fat Joe all over the place. Uh, I'm gonna leave that one right there. MMA says Roger Jackson is not a wrestler. He doesn't know how it works and should not have been added at the last minute to the show. Like he was with inadequate training or instructions. Yeah, maybe he didn't get the memo or something. I don't know. Um, Let me jump down a little bit, y'all. I'm gonna do the Benny Doe. Scroll down. Um, because I'm behind. Uh, this is a crazy question. Definition of realist is what? There's no definition of realist. Realist to me is up there with best. It's too subjective. What's real to you might not be the realist to me. What's real to you might be fake to me. Um, I mean, you try to find a definition for realist. Are we talking like authentic? Is it accurate? Is it the most street? Like this, it's so vague. Um, I don't know if there could be a real definition of realist because it's too subjective. That's a great question though. That would be a whole live talking about that. Um, that's just my opinion. Samuel Gervais says, I think Tracy Lee is an entertainment lawyer now. Really? I saw him perform. Um, I saw him perform about 3 or 4 years ago. Charles 13X says D Nice wasn't nice like that. Shout out to my brother D Nice, my BDP brethren. Hope to get him on the show one day. Um, Gregory Nettis, this is vague. This is off. This is random, but it says usual suspects got the best plot twist in a movie, possibly of all time. I can see that. Um, Shawshank Redemption was a great plot twist too. There's a few. Um, oh, oh, uh, what is Psycho might have the best plot twist of all time. For those that didn't see Psycho, that might be the best plot twist of all time. Uh, but yeah, um, this is a crazy comment, Chris Morale. Michael Jackson died trying to surpass Michael Jackson. That is a crazy comment and probably incredibly accurate. Wow, that's very profound. And a lot of artists, a lot of times you're competing with yourself. Um, and you're chasing a moment that you had. And there's so many things that go into a moment that things would have to line up like that exactly again. I don't know if it ever will. Um, but that's crazy. I might need to borrow that, Chris Morale. Charles says I would put Ronald Isley against Michael Jackson. I wouldn't. I saw the Isley brothers versus uh Earth, Wind, and Fire. Remember that? That was a dope versus. That's back when it was more friendly, which the way I liked it. And that was a tight battle. That was a tight one. Michael Jackson is different, man. The amount of big records that he has that he can throw on that the whole world knows is ridiculous. Ridiculous. And then if he brings out people that he did records with, because in the verses you could bring out people you did record with. Oh, he'll bring out Paul McCartney. you know, uh, let me bring out my sister Janet. Yo, I can't put people in the same grouping with him. Uh, yeah, Chris Morale. This is more like Madonna or Prince are the only people that could compete with MJ. Yeah, more like that. That level of, even though Michael Jackson had a lot more hits than Prince, but yeah, I see what you're saying. Those type of artists, Madonna would be a really good one. Madonna versus Michael Jackson is more. I'm trying to think of who else would be to have that many pop hits. Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney probably, if he do Beatles stuff and his solo stuff, he might be unbeatable. I think Paul McCartney could be unbeatable. Stevie Wonder. Stevie might be unbeatable too. That's another one. Stevie got mad records that people know. Stevie, yeah, but you're right. You have to put like a Madonna, Prince, Stevie, them kind of people up against um Michael Jackson. Gregory Ness says, I see people doing it to Tupac also. I haven't seen anybody disrespect Pac, but I could see it's just weird. that I'm seeing. Like I see a lot of hate on like NBA, any NBA before like LeBron's rookie year. Anything before LeBron is now no longer was good, and any music before like 2000s, like it's just a weird. And like I'm pretty sure people been thinking this, but not. It's like really like you're allowed to say this. Like people are saying it in forums and not getting immediately crushed. I don't know. I'm just gonna keep an eye on this, but as a person who's old enough to remember music before Michael Jackson, and when a Michael Jackson hit, and then after that, and then the new era, I can say that maybe these people are they're just not old enough to understand. Um, this has been a hot topic this week. Funk Flex reflected on the early days of Hot 97. They started playing hip hop out of desperation. Yeah, they really played. They were a dance station that was like at the bottom of the ratings, and they gave Funkmaster Flex, I believe, a Friday night. Shout out to Jessica Rosenblum, who was his manager, who helped him get on Hot 97. And when they started playing hip hop, it changed the game for hip hop, New York City, and that radio station. And you see, I'm gonna shout out my man DJ Enough. Um, to see him, there's clips of him crying, DJing. He had no idea this was coming. Uh, his firing from Hot 97, and you can tell it broke him. Uh, I don't know what's going on. I know about as much as you guys know what they show on TMZ or whatever, but DJ Enough, I've known DJ Enough from before he was on Hot 97. Um, Always super cool. I got a picture with DJ Enough. I should put it up. Um, and of course, Funkmaster Flex is my guy too. I know Funkmaster Flex from before he was on Hot 97. All these guys were DJs in the clubs in New York before they got on. Um, I don't know what that situation is, but it is really ugly. They're gonna have to do some real damage control there. Um, but radio is not even the same. You know what, Red? I'm gonna put this record, hip hop versus rap, not just because I produced the song, but because um this was one of his best vocal performances ever. And it wasn't on an album, it was on a B-side of Sound of the Police 12-inch, just a record just added on there. And it was an incredible record, incredible vocals. And you ever see did you see the video where somebody took a video of all of the songs that he mentioned and spliced them together as he's rapping? It's incredible. Um, Jack Swagger said they're trying to bury our heroes. Can't trust the internet or social media accounts these days. It's true. Uh, I don't know what's going on, y'all, but it's odd. Jack Swagger says, "Who protects us from you?" Is Sound of the Police Part One. Yeah, actually, I think "Who Protects Us from You" led to Black Cop, which led to Sound of the Police. To me, KRS has been very critical of the police and the government for a long time. Um, Chris Morales says, "What did Biz and KRS think of each other's young girl songs?" I don't know. Cutie Pie says, does anyone else feel like real songwriting from the soul just is very rare these days? Well, everybody feels that, Cutie Pie. Um, First of all, everybody's trying to make records to fit an algorithm. You're making records to try to be on TikTok and some of these video things. So your whole writing process and the length of the records, everything is short to the point, certain things to try to meet an algorithm. Secondly, most of the artists are so young. Like, once you reach like 23, 24, you're like old now. The artists that we loved, a lot of them were in their 30s and 40s, having some of their best years. And I think in order to write from the soul, you have had to have had some life experience to write from. Even if you're getting songs from someone else, like, a lot of artists or singers, they're not songwriters, but to write deep a love song or a conscious record or something, you've had to have gone through something. And a lot of these people are so young. What have they really gone through? Some people write about things that they see. They didn't go through it, but they look out their window and they see things and they write about it. Do people even look out their window anymore? Everybody's on their phone looking at an algorithm, trying to copy an algorithm, which is copying an algorithm. Um, I definitely feel like this. Uh, but then again, there's no love songs either. You can't make a love song now. All the R&B singers, males, they're singing rappers. They're not really R&B singers. And the women are all making records about how you did me wrong and I'm done with men kind of records. F you. It's really F you versus F you, and they're going back and forth. That's all the records. No one says, I love you, I miss you, I need you, like them old stylistics records that we grew up with. We even in the 80s, Luther, Anita Baker, and all of that. R. Kelly, you know, or who else, a Jodeci or whatever. There's none of that now. So yes, I agree with you. And we are now approaching overtime. We're gonna go a little bit longer here, y'all. For those that's just checking in, this is the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Big up to the Rewind crew who's gonna check this out later on. Um, Philly She says unappreciated songs by KRS says nothing in the world is impossible. I don't even remember that song. Higher Level and Build and Destroy. Thank you for throwing Build and Destroy in there. A Kenny Parker production. I just got to pick up myself. Uh, let's see. Yeah, Joy Joe says, I agree, Cutie Pie. Good soul music writing is rare. Soul music is practically done, y'all. Uh, yeah, Abuse Review. This is really where I'm at. No one will ever be Michael Jackson. He was easily the most known person on earth without internet or social media. You know how incredible that is? And you're right. He was the most known person on earth. Even to this day, he's probably in the top five. But at the time, he was the most known person on earth with no social media or internet, with like a handful of video outlets. It is unbelievable what he accomplished. The world is not even set up for somebody to be that famous. Like I said, the president of the United States is among the most famous people ever. Like any president is famous worldwide. And I would say Donald Trump is probably the most famous person on earth right now for a multitude of reasons. Um, but Michael Jackson is not a politician, not a world leader. a singer to reach the levels he reached. I don't even see how you could put people in his scene. Like, what are you measuring that you could even put people with him? But it's not only that people put him in the conversation, they're saying people are better than him. Um, let's see. Um, I'm going to scroll all the way down to the very bottom since we are uh, in overtime. Charles 13X says Funkmaster Flex can't do no wrong. I don't know, not according to the internet. Uh, this is interesting. JT says, I don't know what y'all were talking about, but he says that's a story of so many young kids with dreams of playing in the NBA. Maybe not mobsters, but gang ages, schools, coaches, family. Makes you realize just how rare it is to make it. It really is rare. To make it into the NBA, you're talking about like winning the lottery numbers. You know how rare it is to get a Division I basketball scholarship as a high school student is 1%. Only 1% of all high school basketball players get a Division I scholarship to D1 school. And then when you get to that level, probably less than 1% of that gets to the NBA. You're talking 0.000 something percent of everyone who's ever touched a basketball gets to a level like that. It's incredibly rare. Um, oh, this is interesting. Michael, Prince, and Madonna dominated the charts in the 80s, but Whitney stormed the pop charts with her debut and was saving all my love. No, she dominated too. Whitney, when you talk about dominating in the 80s, Whitney is up there. I mean, there's pop artists too, like Hall and Oates and people like that who are huge too. Phil Collins and these type of people. But yeah, Prince, Michael, Madonna, Whitney, dominant. Miss Helene says, Kenny, who do you think would win a versus between Tupac versus Jay-Z? Jay-Z has a lot of records, man. So I'm thinking about records that you can throw on that people would know. Tupac has a lot of records, but a lot of his songs would be more Tupac fans would know them more. I don't think any rapper could beat Jay-Z. With the amount of hit records that he's had and guest appearances and the people he could bring out, he's done records with. He'll bring out Beyonce, Alicia Keys, Rihanna, Kanye, you know, uh, he could put R. Kelly on the phone from jail. Like he can bring just the people that he could bring out that he's done records with that were hits would be ridiculous. Eminem, it would be, Pac. Who we bring out? Snoop. That was a different era where you didn't do a lot of records with people, but Pac would bring out who Snoop, Digital Underground, maybe. Um, It just wouldn't be the same thing. And Pac's life was too short. Jay-Z's been making records as long as Tupac's whole life. I gotta go Hove on that one. I see people saying Cutie Pie says Tupac. I'm going Hove. Um, I saw this earlier. It says, didn't The Weeknd get like 5 billion streams for his hit song? I bet he clocked like $127 on Spotify. Yeah, Spotify is the worst when it comes to paying. Not the worst, but one of the worst. Streaming in itself is a super ripoff. But yeah, I think he's the first artist to reach 5 billion streams. Was it Blinding Lights? I saw that earlier today. Um, David also says Michael Jackson made a song about a rat and it was a hit. Yeah, Ben was a big record. Yo, man, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if people really remember. When you talking about Mike, I don't know if people really remember what he did. Um, let's see. Uh, Sandwich Races, KB, what do you think about Michael Jackson versus Elton John? Elton John has a lot of records. Still going Mike, but Elton John, you can't just push him around. Like Elton John is a problem from the 70s and 80s, and he has some big records like Candle in the Wind and all that stuff. Elton John is a real problem. I think Michael Jackson would beat him, but that's a real tough one because that's a close one. And I'm talking about records people know. That would be a real tough one. That's a good call, Jim Sandwich. But they're not really in the same category, but you're thinking huge acts. That would be dope. MK Ultra, KP After Hours. Yeah, we're after hours right now. Sydney Rose says, haven't heard a good love song in a minute. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're out there, but like a mainstream hit, not really, man. I think maybe Ed Sheeran had a couple, or not really, man. Not really. You're right about that. Raj Justice says, why is writing a singer's lyrics different from writing an MC's lyrics? This is a great question. Why are you asking this at 9:43? That's an hour right there. Um, Hip hop has different rules. Hip hop as a culture, rules are just different than any other musical genre. In other musical genres, it's okay for you to just be a singer and you collect songs and you find songs you like and you sing them. It's okay to sing someone else's song over. Uh, someone did a song, you sing it over. Three people could have the same record out at the same time. Depends on who sung it better. Uh, Hip hop is not like that. Hip hop is built on who has the dopest rhymes. That is the essence of the culture. Rap part of it is who is dopest on the mic. And part of you being dope on the mic is that you are saying what you wrote. You are saying you are expressing yourself on the microphone. You're not expressing someone else's version of you or expressing themselves through you. You are expressing yourself on the microphone. Those are hip hop rules. Now, that's an unwritten rule that was never followed from day one. You know how critical I am on this channel about ghost writers and ghost producers. All the purists sit there and say, oh, ghostwriting, blah, blah, blah. Nobody followed that rule. Nobody. Handful of people. And that's why when you talk about the greatest to ever touch the microphone, you had to have written your shit. To me. Um, but yeah, there's like even producing, when you say who produced a record in R&B and rock, it's who organized the musicians and the singers in one room and coached the songs per se. And hip hop is who got on that drum machine and banged out. Who found the sample, put the drums, who put that beat together? It's a different mind frame. Hip hop always had different rules. That's what made it so great. I'm talking in the past tense. That's what makes it great. Uh, CMCs, again, thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. Says, how did KRS teach at Yale and for how long? I don't know. I know he has spoke at over 500 universities. I know there was talk of him teaching a class at Columbia in New York. I remember that. I'm not sure about Yale, but I know Chris gets approached all the time. And there's quite a few people teaching classes now. Like I think Ninth Wonder teaches hip hop um, in colleges, I believe. There's a few people that's teaching. So I'm sure they just probably approached him like, yo, would you be a guest teacher for a semester or whatever? Who better than KRS, the teacher, to teach at a college about hip hop? He is well versed. He has an infinite wealth of knowledge and experience. Be great. I would take that class. Um, I should leave it on this, Cutie Pie. Big ups to DJ Kenny Parker. I should just leave it there. I'm not, but yeah, that would be a great way to just kick it off. Um, let's see. Engage VR says Michael also went to places in person. Yeah, I mean, well, that was a different era. You had to, you want to shoot a movie or a video, um, you had to go to on location. Now it's all uh, CGI. Ultra says Bob Marley is known worldwide for his. Yes, he is. I wouldn't say he has as many hits as these other people, but he is reggae music. And he's one of the most important, most influential artists of all time. And I've seen many gigantic artists say that they got inspiration from him. Even a Stevie said that Bob Marley influenced him. Bob Marley is in my top 3 or 4 most important artists that ever lived. And his life got cut down too short. Um, but he is an icon and a visionary. And the love and consciousness that he put out in the world was felt so immensely. And no, I don't know if anyone has ever really captured it like him again. But now somebody will come along right now and be like, oh, Bob Marley wasn't really that good. So and so out now from Flatbush is better than him. Brad Yakubian, I'm getting off, but this is a question I would love to answer on Friday. What are 3 criminally underrated rap albums in my opinion? Um, I'd have to get back to that, man. Uh, I'm at the bottom here. I'm just looking. Uh, what is this, Monkey? Funk Master Flex issued a warning to Pete Rock in Hot 97 shakeup. I know they had some tension. Um, It's bad, man. The DJ world is very competitive too, as everything is. Shout out to Pete Rock. He was a guest on this channel. That's my brother, Chocolate Boy Wonder. Flex is my dude too, so some things you just stay out of. Floetry, much love, Kenny P. Thank you so much, Floetry One. Uh, Charles 13X says Phil Collins is responsible for creating hip hop. Can you elaborate on that? Um, I think Jazz O will eat Jay-Z up on stage. I don't know about that one. DMX could have outdone Jay-Z had he lived. I don't know about that one either. I mean, DMX had the last 10, 15 years of his career was very troubled. He was alive. You look at you look at when was the last time DMX had a big record? Let's just take from 2000. When did DMX pass? Like 2000, few years. Let's say 2000. Let's say 2010 to 2020. You look at DMX and Jay-Z. You can't say DMX would have outdone him because the proof is there. DMX was great for a few years, but Jay-Z's been rocking since 96. I don't think he gets as much credit that he deserves because he's commercial, but Jay-Z put it down, man. For his lane, the lane that he's in, commercial, making big records, talking about street life and street riches, that lane, he really did it, man. He's about to next year, it'll be 30 years since Reasonable Doubt came out. And if Jay-Z dropped the album right now, it would go number one. I don't know, man. JT says, not the biggest fan, but Jay-Z would take him. Jay-Z would take most people. Um, this is real interesting, D Nizzy. This is really, really interesting. Says Red Alert at one point wasn't speaking to enough. He stabbed Red in the back for the 5 o'clock. Hot 97 fired Red Alert. Well, now I don't know if enough stabbed him, but there was a show called the 5 o'clock Free Ride. And Red Alert was the DJ for the 5 o'clock Free Ride on Hot 97 for a few years. And he was let go out of nowhere, and enough took his spot. Kind of similar to what happened right now. Now, I don't know the behind the scenes behind it. I'm not going to say that enough stabbed him. I'm not sure. And if Red Alert wasn't speaking to enough, I didn't know that. I don't know these things, but that's very interesting if it went down like that. Don't know. Gregory Netta says that's Jay-Z's Illuminati soldiers he brings out. Yeah, but he could, whether you like it or not, he could bring out a lot of people, man. Beanie Seagulls and freeways, and it would be a real problem, man. Jazzo, he could go get all these people, Ja Rule and a mill. Like just if a versus with Jay-Z, just for the people he bring out would be an hour. All right, y'all, I'm gonna go all the way to the bottom and I'm getting off. I don't care what anybody says. I'm scrolling. I just jumped a bunch of comments. Oh, I hate this. Marquis says Jay-Z's Imaginary Players earned a 100% increase in streams. Yeah, because Cardi B did it over. And that's one of my favorite Jay-Z records ever. Imaginary Players was ridiculous. That record destroyed the Range Rover. Gray Beard says people really hating on Sean Carter. Yeah. This is what I'm talking about. But Jay-Z always gets heat from the purists because he chose to talk about money and street and drugs, I guess. I don't know. He gets more heat than Biggie, who talked about the same exact thing. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah. All right. I'm at the bottom. JT said it was interesting to hear from him when he guested on one of KP's early lives. I guess you mean Pete Rock. Jack Swagger said Jay-Z brought Michael Jackson to Summer Jam. I remember that. Because then, the Summer Jam started becoming, New York City Hot 97 Summer Jam started becoming, who could you bring out? Who could you bring out? And he brought out Michael Jackson, and that's, I mean. Rosmel says Biggie was better. There's no such thing as better, Rosmel. I think first of all, I love Jay-Z as an artist, but I like Biggie more, slightly more. But Biggie's career was too short. But um I look at people for their lanes. What lane are you in? And how did you rock in that lane? Um Kenneth Smith said Jay-Z did an all B-sides show that was 90 minutes, all bangers. Exactly. This is what I'm trying to say, but it's just my opinion. Corey Flood says, was Biggie better than Ice Cube? There you go, that word better again. Uh, Not sure about that. Not sure. I'm gonna say not. I think because I love Ice Cube on this channel. I think he's one of the greats of all time. My top 10. But so is Big. These are things like it depends on what you like. Ice Cube changed the game with NWA though. You know how I feel about game changers. But Big kind of changed the game too. Big with Puff brought the Versace shirt era and the champagne and the Cristal. He kind of brought that era in. So that's a good one right there. That's a real good one. Spook Realm says, we truly appreciate you, KP. I talk about you like we hang out in real life. Thank you, Spook Realm. We do hang out. This is real life, y'all. Oh. Oh. Markeith says Jay-Z named Forbes richest musician with 2.5 billion. I saw that. That's what he always ever wanted. He's always saying he was chasing the Billy. He got what he wanted, 2 billion. He'd probably be a 3 in a couple years. Um, I don't know what he does with his life, but I hope he uses that to help people at some point. Um, you got you got $3 billion. You could help a lot of people, bro. You could help a lot of people. Sammy Gervais says Notorious Big was better than Ice Cube. Big only had 2 albums versus Big Daddy Kane's first 2 albums and Biz Markie's first album. I think that shows Kane was better than Big. No, I don't think so. Because you can't just cherry pick the albums you want. True, Big only had 2 albums, but Kane had a bunch of albums. You can't just say his first 2 albums and we're just gonna not talk about anything else. Not saying that Kane is whack or anything, but you have to look at an artist's whole career. We could cherry pick any 2 albums from any 2 artists and say they're the best to do it. Not any two, but the top artists. You have to look at their whole career. And that's why I always have an asterisk next to Big, because I think He the 3 years that he was out was ridiculous, but it was only like 3, 4 years because he did some guest appearances that were memorable too, and the Junior Mafia. He had some records, man. Um, but like I said, you can't cherry pick Biz's first album. Biz has multiple albums. Oh. JT says, damn, KP hit the 2 hour mark. Benny Doyle's going to be kicking himself. I know. Benny Doyle's always trying to get me to get to 10 o'clock. All right, we're at 10 o'clock. I'm jumping off. Jack Swagger says, Big only had 2 albums and they still get played today. Exactly. Lots of artists can't say that. Exactly. Sam Gervais says, I would choose Biggie's Life After Death over any album by Ice Cube, including those with NWA. That's dope. Another person would say no. NWA is over that. So it's just opinions. Uh, Flochi says, I was shouting out the DJ Kenny Parker show on the Joe and Jada live chat this morning. Oh, thank you so much, Flochi. I really appreciate that. Maybe Joey Crack will bring me on. I've never met Jadakiss in my life or Styles P. Um, I've met Chic Luch once. Mad cool. All right. Um, Dartmouth said Big did 5 albums. Well, yeah, I guess some of them were posthumous, people piecing together stuff. Not to mention he wrote Little Kim's first album. Yeah, he wrote a lot of stuff. But we're not going to count the ghostwriting. Because we start counting ghostwriting, man, listen. Um, I'm going to end it on this right here. Sydney Rhodes says, great show. Thank you guys so much. God willing, we will be here. Why is my thing all crooked? God willing, we will be here on Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Big up to the Rewind crew who's going to check this out later. They're going to see 2 hours and go, what the hell? But yeah, once again, CMC's Techniques in Class, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And we're going to jump off. I'll catch you guys in a couple days. All right, peace.